Hello. Hi, we're live. Good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of the Women's Revolution podcast. And today is just me and Gita, Kelly, and Divina are not able to join us today, so just the two of us. And we are talking about what happens when you change and your environment doesn't. So we will talk about changes in us as individuals, changes in our career, changes in our professional life, a shift in mindset, and how challenging can be navigating all these changes when those around us stay the same or they don't support our changes. So we
Mm.
will talk about these situations, give examples, share some of our own stories. We will share something that Kelly sent us as well before we started. And of course, try to give you some tools and strategies that we've used in terms of navigating these situations. But before we start, and as usual, we will do some body settling and grounding because I'm sure we all have had busy mornings. So I will invite Gita to take us through a quick journey.
Hi, everyone. If it's safe to do so, and if you'd like to join in, then just take a moment to pause. You can be seated, you could be walking. If you are seated or even lying down, you may want to lower your gaze or close your eyes. And I really just want you to invite you to just take a breath, a really intentional breath. Feel the air as it goes in through your nose, down through your body, fills your lungs and your belly, and then breathe out again slowly and gently. And just keep breathing and feeling the air as it passes through into your body and out again. Just start to feel your body to settle, settling in the chair or as you're walking around. Just become aware of how your body is feeling in this moment. Become aware of any sensations, any niggles, aches, or pains. And the invitation here is just to notice. Notice what's happening within. Notice your thoughts. Are they chattering away? Can you invite in some slowness, some quiet? Notice your heart. How fast is it beating? Is it slowing down? You've made the time to be here. So to allow yourself to be really present is also a gift to yourself. Take this time for you and take from this podcast whatever it is that you need into your day, into your weekend, into the next days that come. When you're ready, open your eyes.
Thank you. I needed that. I just came from a goodbye virtual party of a dear working colleague, and it was beautiful, but it's always sad when someone leaves, someone that has been a pleasure to work with. So, Nadia, if you are seeing or if you will see the recording of this, miss you, will miss you. But before we dive in into the topic, I just would like to remind everyone to subscribe to the Women's Revolution podcast and channel. and leave us any comments, any suggestions that you might have, and share it. Share these episodes or this one or any of the other episodes with anyone that you think that might benefit from it. And we really thank all of your support and being with us in this journey in this podcast. So let's go then into what happens when you change and your environment doesn't. So maybe we will start with sharing some stories. And before we started, I suggested Gita if she would like to start by suggesting one of her stories.
Yeah, change. What happens when you change and your environment doesn't? And that's actually been quite a theme in my life over the last 2 years. Um, and when we decided to do this podcast, I was really reflecting on, you know, what to share really, what parts are okay to share even. No, I know we're all about being sort of raw and uncut. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so I've been through quite a transformation in the last couple of years. And when I look at who I surround myself with now in my life, it's actually very different to who was here with me a couple of years ago. Some people have remained, and some people, we've parted ways. And this is quite linked to, in some ways, to when we were talking about attachment style in the last
Yeah.
couple of episodes and how we respond to change. And I notice as my attachment style has shifted, my response to change, particularly in this kind of relational way, has really shifted. And there's a lot more self-awareness and understanding of me and the relationship with myself. Um, and it's been very liberating, actually, the experience. So although they're like, you're just saying about someone leaving a leaving party of a colleague at work, it's a similar kind of thing. Change has happened there, something has shifted. So although like when someone leaves your life either by mutual agreement or their choice or your choice, whatever the situation, it will come with a level of grief, a level of,
Yeah.
and I say the word grief because it is grief. Grief comes in so many different levels and shapes and sizes. And there's a part of me, well, what I've had to do is like process that grief, allow myself to go through that journey rather than push it down and sort of sweep it under the carpet and then carry on. And it's in that process where real growth and shifts have happened internally for me. And then as that change has happened within me, then I see the changes outside of me. So then who is perhaps I'm drawing into my life, who is now as part of my, what I'd call my inner circle, and who, because we shift, don't we, as we change.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed in life, like where you've had friendships, long-standing friendships, and there's nothing wrong with any of this, like where someone's been very close and then there may be some distance and then there might be something that brings you back closer together. And sometimes you part ways, like it's an ending of a chapter sometimes, not the whole book, maybe, but maybe that chapter has come to a close. And then just notice, I think my window cleaner's here. I'm really sorry. Good wonder, I thought, what is that noise?
That's
Yeah,
that's the beauty
gone
of
in,
life. Everything can happen.
he'll be gone in a sec. Um, but yeah, so those are the things I really notice. And what I would also like to add is that when you change and perhaps your environment doesn't, what can happen? It can bring up discord sometimes, and maybe there's a fracture or a
Yeah.
perceived fracture. And what's been key for me is how that's repaired. And sometimes the repair hasn't happened. And there isn't a judgment from me on that. You know, you can't make someone step into that space of repair if they're not ready to. I know I've done that before in the past. But what I've recognized in myself now is that that's not what I want to do anymore. Things are going to happen in life. There might be misunderstandings and so on. And what I would like is the opportunity to actually meet the other person, to have a clearing, because we may still not agree, but at least if we can reach some kind of clearing and then make a decision, do we still want this relationship? Do we need to create a new relationship? Is it time to part ways? And for me, that comes from a very loving place. So I think that's been the biggest shifts for me.
I love that. And whilst I was listening to you, I just thought that I've been on the other side as well, right? Because we are talking about what happens when we change and
Mm,
the environment and others don't. But I've been on the other side where others change and the environment, but I was resistant to it,
mm,
which is a different angle probably and probably for a different conversation, but it's just fascinating. There's always, as you say, two sides, right?
yeah,
Because you have your transformation, but other people might have their transformation. And we can be on either side, either on the
yeah,
one that's changing and finds resistance, or we are the resistance, the ones that are resisting. And that leads me to why we resist, right? Why we
mm,
resist to change or see others in change or see the environment change.
yeah,
And I do believe that it's natural. It's a human response. We are afraid and we resist for several reasons. In my experience, reflecting about it, when I resisted change, and even when I see some people resisting change, I believe fear is at the core of it. It's the fear of the unknown. It brings all the uncertainty, and that's scary because you don't know what's next. What happens is if someone changes around you, it's scary, and you just sometimes prefer to stay in the comfort zone. You just don't want to go wherever the change leads you to.
it's so interesting. And literally before we came on air, one of a dear friend of mine, we were discussing something else, and she said it always fascinates me how we as humans continue to resist the only constant in the universe, which is change.
Yeah.
And as you were speaking, I had this image come up in my mind of like hanging on to the cliff edge for dear life. Like you're there, you're just hanging on this ledge. And actually, all you need to do is just step down because
And
it's
there's
fine. But you just don't trust. And I think that's the thing,
yeah,
trust in yourself, to know that you've got your own back, that when something changes, you can. Um, but that I think that there is a link back to this, how we form attachment styles again. And, we've discussed this before, and it's just a reflection of mine. Like, as I've changed my attachment, my self-trust has built. So my
yeah,
ability to weather change has also increased. And like, there's a better sense of resilience there to change.
yeah, true. Because there's always comfort in what's familiar to us, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you are moving outside of what's familiar to you, to your routines, even behaviors, even if sometimes they are toxic, and we see these in some very complex
Yeah.
situations, we are that is so familiar. Those patterns, behaviors, And for us, when we are in those situations and we fear change, it's because we feel safe, but it's a fake safety. Because if you take the step, if you accept change, if you, when you change and others don't, if you stick to yourself, to what you believe, to your truth, to your heart, and you continue and you move ahead and you grow, uh, the possibilities are huge of what might happen, what you can achieve, what your relationship and your environment, because there's always the ripple effect. One thing that I do believe and I've seen in my experience is that if you change, even if the other side is not ready, either the environment or people,
Yeah.
they are not ready for the change. If you stick to it and if you communicate and if
Mm,
you lead by example, people will start to see, and they will start, even if they don't want to and they resist at the beginning,
mm,
they will start to change themselves as well, slowly, maybe slower because it's not ready, it's not the time for them, but
yeah.
they will start to change. And if they don't want to change because it's something that they don't align with, they will accept. And it's what you said at the beginning, is with the love,
Mm.
looking at each other. And when I say love, it's not romantic love only, but it's
No,
love as human
yeah,
beings, right?
yeah. Universal love. Yeah.
Universal love, and embrace those changes and embrace it, embrace the differences.
And like we look at this on a micro level, like between like say two people or a
Yeah,
person and a space, work, home, whatever, your friendships. And then we look at it at the macro level, like you said, look at the possibilities that are available when you can step into and lean into and embrace change. And I look at that and I just think, societally maybe, or deep conditioning might be there, that some changes are perceived as not okay. Like I'll give you an
hmm,
example. Like I was chatting to someone about our children and career choices and working. And once upon a time was you got a job for life. You get this job and you're going to stay in
yeah,
it for life. And this in your career coaching, with your career coaching hat on. And then now there's this other way of doing things, which could be, you could be an entrepreneur from quite a young age if you wanted to.
yeah,
There's possibilities. You don't have to stick to the one thing. You can try something, change it. And some people embrace that way, and some people are still like, oh no, because they can't,
yeah,
it feels too scary to do that. Um, but that's the same in all sorts of situations, I think, where that's the deep conditioning of, that change isn't quite healthy or good for you. You don't want to do that. You want to do this. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's fascinating. And I remember, even in my personal life, and I can give a very recent example. About 1 year and a half ago, and as moms, of course, I have an 18-year old boy, and we sometimes do too much for them, right?
Mm,
And there was a time when I decided to change. And I thought, I need to do something different because he's going to university very soon. He's going to live by himself. So he needs to change as well. And but it needs to start with me.
mm,
So I decided that, okay, so now um, you need to start to take care of your own things, do your laundry, start to cook, because it doesn't make sense for me to always do that for you. You are a grown up now. We live in the same house, but that doesn't mean because I'm a woman and I'm your mom that I will continue to do that. So we had a conversation, and at the same time, it was him and my partner. So we had a conversation, and I said, so from now on, each one of us will do our own laundry. I
okay.
think everyone is used that the woman is the one doing laundry. but I don't think that's right for me anymore.
Mm.
So both of you will do your own laundry, and I will do my own laundry. So imagine, wow. And
How
the
did
first,
that go
okay, so the first reaction was, what? Huh? What? Why now? Why now? Right? Why now? What's changed? What's happening? And I just said, because I don't want to do it anymore. It's my choice. I just don't think I have to do it. We are all adults, right? Three people, adults. So I think we need to take responsibility for our own laundry. It's my choice. So, and I think it's the right one. And then we had the conversation around why women
Mm.
need to do it, why it's my role as mom.
Mm.
I wanted more specifically my son, but I used the same time to do it with my partner. So I said,
Mm.
why me? Why the woman? Why the mom?
Yeah.
We are three adults. We need to share responsibilities with each other. And so from that day until now, and it's been about 1 year and a half,
Mm.
almost 2 years, I think, 1 year and a half. Yeah, Daniel started university last September, so I started about half a year before, so he could prepare himself. And it has been working, I must tell you, wonders. Even now, he got his own holidays from uni, and he does his own laundry. He just got used to it. He knows it's his responsibility, and it's just became the norm. Um, but I have to stick to it, I must say. At the beginning, it was hard because I myself had, from society and how I was educated by my
Mm.
mom and everything, and previous relationships, I always did it without even thinking about it. It was my
It's
responsibility. So
instinctive
I did
within
it.
you. Yeah. 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 I love what you're saying because that's what I've heard from you actually, and this is really key in any kind of situation like this where change happens is communication
It
and really
is.
like sharing the why behind it,
Yeah.
being open and inviting curiosity and even questions from others, like there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong. And so you can have a shared understanding, maybe, or try to share your perspective. I think that really can help because when change happens, whatever type of change, it can cause division rather than
Yes.
unity if those channels of communication aren't engaged in. When they are, when all parties are willing to, no matter, and it can be really uncomfortable, like it can be really
Yes.
uncomfortable. But what I've experienced is when you can engage, even if it feels really uncomfortable, causes all sorts of stuff going on within you, is that feeling actually, we think it's a protector, but it's not really. But if you can lean in, it can often feel really liberating afterwards. It can even allow you to deepen those connections further.
Yes.
Um,
Absolutely.
and it can help to like reduce that, you were saying at the beginning, the resistance.
Yeah. And it's not one conversation. And what I would say in terms of one of the strategies is really the communication,
Yeah,
not only for this, for change, but for everything.
yeah,
But it's not one conversation, right? It happens in multiple conversations, in when you are sitting at a dinner table, or when you are just watching something. You can just start the conversation. Don't be afraid to communicate. But what I feel important as well is, one is really feel empowered to say what you want, because it's your choice as well, right? So that would be one. Use I statements. I
yeah,
feel that this is right for me at this
yeah,
point, at this moment. Another thing is also listen to why the other part, or whatever organization, system, person is resisting, because they have
mm,
their own reasons as well. They have the fears, the insecurity. They might think, um, or in my case, he could think, oh, she doesn't love me anymore, so she does not do this for me anymore,
yeah,
and respond to those fears, right? It has nothing to do, in my situation, it has nothing to do loving more or less. it's about sharing a responsibility. It's also about you showing that you care for me and respect me and love me
Mm,
and take this burden off me, in my specific case. So those
mm.
are conversations that are very important. Understand why the resistance is there, really understand, listen, and then find the compromise, the agreement, but it can go through phases and different conversations.
Yeah, you're absolutely right because there's different iterations. It's not just one. And as the sands shift and move, so will the conversations and what shows up.
Yeah.
And it's being intentional. It's being respectful of all sides, um, and it's extending understanding and compassion just as you would like to be understood and have
Yes.
compassion extended to you. It's doing
Yes.
that both ways.
Absolutely.
Um, like otherwise it can actually, it can be a very lonely path. It can feel quite
Yes.
isolating at times. And I remember a point where there was these big shifts happening for me. And at one point I just sat there and I felt alone. I
Yeah.
was like, who is really here showing up for me, with me, next to me,
Yes.
wherever, anywhere. But also that's how I felt in that moment. But it's not to say it was true, because that's the other thing, is to question the reality. Like, what is
Yes.
this actually really true? Um, but it can feel very, very lonely and isolating.
Yeah.
But part of it is the journey. Like, it's almost like, depending on the size of the transformation, it can feel like you're going into a void, and it's like a necessary sort of, almost like a rite of passage, to then be able to come out again into that dark, to be able to come out into the light again, and to really see you, the situation, the environment, say it is something that hasn't been serving you. And until it's sort of you have that degree of separation, you can't always know that until you're away from it, to know that actually this isn't really serving me, and to learn to how to honor yourself through the process. I think that's where a lot of people, there's, again, going back to, like, whether it's attachment style or your nervous system regulation, like, how do you honor your own energy and your own needs? How do you take care of
Yeah.
yourself in these situations? How do you do that and not feel any guilt about
Yes.
how it's not that you're intentionally making anyone else feel bad, maybe, like, it's the situation. And so how do you not dishonor yourself in the way of pleasing someone else?
Yes.
That's where the real shifts happen, and the learning and the growth. That's
Yes.
what, yeah.
And very important what you said as well is the part of the guilt, not
Mm,
feeling the guilt or understanding why you feel the guilt. And how I see it in these situations is that we also need to empower other people to own their own truth and their own journey.
yeah.
And especially with our children and partners, and depending on we go back to attachment styles
Mm,
again, you might feel the responsibility is yours, right?
yeah.
To always have that burden, and then if when you change, then you feel guilty. Oh my God, what about now? I've changed. Am I right? Am I wrong? And it's remembering there's no right or no or wrong. There's just is. It's your choice,
Yes.
and the other person needs to own their own life, their own truth, of course. But you are always there. Are always there to support. And following on that, one of the things that helped me, and I know it helped you too, Vita, is seeking support from like-minded people.
Yeah.
And th- us, me, you, Kelly, Divina, and we have other groups as well. Um, Circle of people that can help us through this journey, and finding those people has been a great help for me in whenever I change, either at work or in my personal life, helping me go through the guilt, the loneliness, the fears, being authentic and raw, and doing this that we are doing, sharing our vulnerability, having these people surrounding us, the support. I would say it's the second, if not the first, most important thing when you change and you feel that some of those closer to you are not changing.
Mm.
You can still find some support
Yeah.
outside of your closer circle of friends or family. There's still people that you can find support from. That's been huge for me.
Yeah. Just letting that land because it was, as you know, it was huge for me. And alongside that, I'm giggling a little bit because there were some people, beautiful souls, who stepped up and wanted to put their hands on my back. I didn't really know them. And because I was still in a place of mistrust, I was questioning why they wanted to support me. And I was
What do
like,
they want? What?
yeah, what do you want? I've got nothing to give. The tank is empty. Like, I have nothing. And yet they stayed
Yeah,
and they stayed and they're still here. And, this weaves into like why we put this podcast together as well, like this group of what we call circles, women's circles, sister circles, and the power of being in circle with other women, women you know, women you don't know, but sharing our stories, feeling supported, feeling heard, being
yes,
witnessed, um, has just been, yeah, a very, very healing part of any change that I've been through.
yes. Me too. Me too. Another thing that has helped me, and I don't know about you, but it's when we talk about our environment doesn't change, people don't change. I remember when I started my journey through meditation, believing in the universe, and then I started to use crystals, and people around me started to, ooh, what she's on now? What's that woo woo? All that woo woo. Um, one of the things that I did was to start to show them that it was my new me, the transformation, the growth, and something that I wanted to explore more and really connected with me. So I created a micro environment. And when I say a micro environment, in my specific case, was in my room. I created a small altar. When I
Mm,
say altar, it's not with saints, nothing like that, but a small space when I have my crystals, my oracle cards, some symbols that I connect with.
mm,
Um, I have a Bible there as well. And then when I want to meditate, that's the place that for me feels right. The
mm,
energy is right. And it's there for whoever sees it. So they know as well that's me, that's part of me now. So it's creating that space. It's like bringing into the physical, into your reality and your space and other people that share your spaces with you, that new
mm,
part of you that you've changed.
yeah,
You've changed. And this is part of my change. And this is
mm,
now part of me and my environment. So that was very interesting. And I've done it many, many years ago. And I still do it and I still have it. And it's something that made a huge difference as well in terms of bringing to reality and to other people around me um, reality, my new my
yeah.
new change, my new behaviors and
It's a
activities, let's
part of
say.
you. It's a part of
It's a
you
part
that,
of me.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a
is
part of
okay.
me.
Yeah. and it's visible, like you've made it visible for others to see if they come across it, and they can be curious with that. They can ask you questions. You're sort of,
Exactly.
whereas like sometimes people will have parts of them that they'll hide, like, and it won't see the light of day, um, which is, yeah, another conversation. But, like, what is it? Another conversation? I suppose, like, it is part of this, because if you keep those parts hidden, then really
Yeah.
sometimes, depending on what it is, if you don't allow it to surface, at some point it will surface, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. Agree.
And it will force, it's like becomes a force for change. So yeah, that's another consideration. And this is not also about like bearing all, like being
No.
someone who
No.
shares absolutely everything. Like there's a level of appropriateness, and a level of appropriateness of how much you share within a work environment, within your home environment, within your relationships and for yourself. But it's also like being true to who you are.
Yeah. And I think
It's,
that's the key part, right? Being true
yeah,
to who you are and what you're comfortable as well to share. And of course, if you can step a bit outside of your comfort zone, it's also good. And I remember the first time I created a vision board, I was ashamed to put
okay.
it up many years ago, for
Wow.
example. Yeah, yeah. I was really ashamed. I remember I hid it.
Did you understand what the shame was about?
Again, it's because it was something new that I decided to start to do, I don't know, many, many years ago. And people around me didn't believe in it. They thought, oh, that's totally woo woo. Vision boards don't work. What's that? That's
Mm.
BS. Um, and so I just hide. It was hidden somewhere in a box that when I wanted to see it, I would go there and I would take it out and I just, ooh. Yeah, so that was the first time I created a vision board. So that's
Okay.
a good example of hiding
Yeah.
something. Well, now I have it everywhere. My laptop screen, my mobile phone screen, my tablet screen. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Well, it's working. Your visions are coming true. They're
Yeah,
materializing.
absolutely. And then my son sometimes, so this is what you want for 2024? And I say, yes, that's what I want for 2024. What about you? What's your vision? Conversations again.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Gita, we
I
are
know.
over time already. So just before we finish, I would like to ask you any last advice tip that you'd like to give to those that are listening to us, either live or on the recording.
Well, I was wondering, is this a good time to share Kelly's
Oh
reflections?
yes, yes,
Because they were beautiful, and I think, it would be useful. Would you like me to read them out?
yes, please, please do.
Okay. When you grow and your environment doesn't, it can be challenging. There can be experiences of loneliness even when you are surrounded by people. However, for me, it has also been a moment to come back to the core essence of who I am. How can I stay in my essence of self-acceptance and acceptance of others? Also acknowledging that sometimes communicating from a place of truth is important and not being a chameleon, which used to be my survival pattern. Therefore, a grounding of learning and integrating who I know I am. There are some friendship groups that I have been friends with for many years, and I feel like a different person with different interests than when we first became friends. For me, it has been about celebrating each other and knowing they accept me, even if I don't want to do the same things anymore or make different decisions. This has all come from a different place of being in the world. It is recognizing that not all friends are responsible for my needs and have a variety of friends and relationships that meet different pleasure, joys, growth, and beauty elements to my life. I think in my romantic relationships, I have wanted them to be on the same page. But over the years, I have recognized we are two individual people and everyone's growth is different. It comes home to honoring each other with respect, curiosity, communication, and acceptance. There are times that we may need to step away from relationships that are toxic, but in my experiences, it has manifested with my circles of friends expanding, even if I don't see everyone as much as I would like. However, I do appreciate some people have toxic relationships that require different decisions and moving away from them. I think it is also worth noting that when we change, this can bring up the shadow side of others. For example, if you stop doing a certain thing and they don't then see and they don't, then this may mirror parts of themselves they don't want to see. They could become defensive, push you away, try to get you back doing that thing, or put you down. Therefore, being clear who you are, boundaries, and clear, respectful communication is important too. We have come to this life to grow and learn who we are, in my opinion. When things challenge me, I step back and remember to see a part of myself in them, to stay in my heart, even if that person isn't active in my life anymore for multiple reasons. It isn't always easy, but an anchor that is always in my grasp. I've noticed the more I move through life this way, the people around me have softened too. Also, our sense of belonging is different to needing to belong, which is another insight I have gained from my experience.
Oh, I love it. I love that.
So many nuggets of gold in there.
So many, yeah. And I took a few. So there's more, but I love the part when Kelly writes about celebrating each other,
Mm,
and we are all individual, and honoring each other with respect, curiosity, understanding, and acceptance.
mm,
I really love that. Really love it. And before you finish, I have a few things to suggest if, for those that are listening live or on the recording, if you
yeah.
wish to start to think a bit more about this, is try to reflect and identify areas where you feel resistance. Either you are resisting to someone else's changes, or you see someone else or an environment resist to your change, and try to understand why. So being self-aware, reflect, understand the why. The communication part. So have a conversation with someone about your changes or one of your changes,
Mhm.
and really try to use the word I feel. And I
Yeah.
love this, Esther Perel. So I did one of her courses, and she has two things that really connected with me in terms of communication. When you are trying to communicate a change or asking someone to adjust to something that you want, is this framework, which is behavior, situation, and emotion.
Mm,
And as a practical example, is I can give a practical example. For example, when this is the behavior part, when you are always on your phone, and then the situation is when we are at the dinner table,
yeah.
for example, and the emotion is, I feel that you really don't
Mm,
love me or respect me and
mm,
don't care about me. So
yeah.
this is a framework that can help you start the conversation.
It's very clean. It's very clear. It doesn't
Yeah,
like mix everything up. It's very, and it takes the facts
yeah.
and you can see how it makes you feel.
And it
Yeah.
doesn't accuse
No, it's not
anyone.
accusing.
No one. It's not accusing. It's just
No.
starting to talk about something. And another
Yeah.
thing that she also says is thank you. Is really appreciating people when
Mm,
they, for example, adjust or they do something that you really appreciate. And
mm,
if you communicate something that you would like to change, or you've changed, and the other person really listens, understands, and accepts, just say, I really appreciate you not having the phone anymore with you at the dinner
Yeah.
table.
Yeah.
So having these type of conversations, then I love the way she puts
Oh,
this.
she's you and I both
She's
love her.
yeah, she's
Girl
amazing. She's
crush,
amazing.
girl crush.
And another thing is find or create or find a support group or circle that could be with you during these times where you feel isolated whilst you are in your growth or change transformation.
Mm,
If you feel that the closest friends might still take some time to go on that journey with you, find a support group, a circle. We are here for you as well, and that will help you. I believe it will help you
yeah.
in this journey of change. Anything before we finish, Gita?
Just that, change isn't always easy. And, um, just as it's not always easy, but it's worth it,
Yeah,
like it's worth leaning into and seeing what's on the other side.
yeah, absolutely. And
Believe in, believe in the
stay committed.
possibility. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
stay committed to your growth.
Mm.
And Thank you again for joining us, either live or on the replay. Leave us any comments, suggestions. We would love to hear from you as well. And
Yeah.
subscribe to the Women's Revolution podcast so you can get a notification for all the episodes and share it with other women and men
Oh,
that you
yes.
think could um, find useful things from our podcast. And we will see you now on the 28th of June, I believe. Yeah,
Yep.
we will be
28th. Yeah.
live. And on the next episode, there's no topic. So that will be very interesting. It's the first time we've decided, let's just see what's in the room. So it will be the four of us, me, Gita, Divina, and Kelly, and we will just see what comes up on on the day. So 28th of June at 1 p.m. We'll be here again.
Yep. See you
Thank you,
then.
everyone.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Bye.
Bye.